There's a good chance some of you may know Patrick Bet-David from the YouTube channel Valuetainment. Well, Patrick Bet-David invited me onto his podcast to discuss my campaign for governor, and some of the folks who were on that podcast just did a reaction video about their thoughts about how my podcast interview went. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to react to their reaction. So yes, this is like a YouTube inception loop, but it's worth making a very clear and blunt response here, and I want to give you two prefaces, or prefi, I don't know. Maybe you can help me figure that out. Number one, the video that you are about to watch from me is going to be completely unedited. That's because I want you to know that the thoughts and plans that I have come inherently from within our vision for solving the problems that California has. Not some manuscript somewhere. They come from a plan and vision we've put together that we strongly believe in. And we believe that with the opportunity to share our vision, not getting cut off or talked over or yelled at, we can on the spot respond to any question that comes up in our campaign. In fact, this weekend I held 4 rallies and I'm holding another rally tonight. And I actually do Q&As at my rally. So when I do a Q&A and somebody asks me a hard question, I give them an answer. Uncut, live. Let's watch this together, and let's respond to, honestly, some of the nonsense that's in this. Because folks have sent me this video and have said, Kevin, you need to see this. There's nonsense in this. All right, so we're going to respond to this. The second thing that I wanted you to know is that when I was in the original podcast, I only unfortunately slept 2 hours before the podcast. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses. This is actually my fault. See, I never wanted to miss a market open or close live stream when I've committed to doing them. And so I flew out on a red eye to go to this interview and only miss 1 day worth of my live streams rather than miss 2 days. So I thought, hey, well, if I buy a red-eye flight and I buy a plane ticket that would let me sleep on the plane because it'd be a chair that could maybe like rotate down or something like that, I could sleep, then good, I'd be well rested because it's like a 6-hour flight and I'm like, that's about the amount of time I get anyway. Well, unfortunately, the flight was delayed 2 hours with JetBlue, so JetBlue big time screwed me. There was a baby in the cabin. The plane had problems getting its engine started, so here I am freaking out about being late for my interview in the morning. I'm freaking out about not getting enough sleep, the plane's having problems, and their baby's screaming. And this kind of stuff happens, and I realize again, maybe I should have just left earlier. Well, it's not that easy when there are no flights between either choosing a red eye or 8 a.m. in the morning, but then I would have missed my other commitments. It's a problem. This is one of the reasons we've been using a jet ourselves that I've been paying for my own money from my business to travel to make sure that we don't have these inconveniences. But anyway, no excuses. Let's get into the reaction here so you can learn a little bit more about my policies and the truth about what's going on, okay? So no cuts. This entire video is going to be no cuts. Let's go. Let's respond.
Meet Kevin is very, very passionate. I'll give him that. He's very passionate. He wants California to succeed. He wants California to be better. But he's an ideologue. And this is honestly a problem I have with most people on the quote-unquote left today. They think their good intentions supersede their bad ideas.
Okay, let's start right here. I want to ask you this. Isn't it time we finish having bullcrap garbage identity politics in our country? Isn't it time we stop the crap of, oh, they're a Democrat or, oh, they're a Republican? Look, yeah, I'm running as a Democrat in a state that is a supermajority legislative body of Democrats. Folks, when you hear my opinions on my plan, our solutions, and our research, my answers are Californian answers. They're not Democratic answers. They're not Republican answers. They are true Californian answers to solving the problems we have. And guess what? No other candidate is doing that. Tell me the plan of the other candidates. What is Gavin Newsom going to do differently compared to his last 3 years in office or his 24 years in California politics? Nothing. Nothing's going to change. What's a Republican governor or candidate even proposing that would get changed in California? Caitlyn Jenner says she's going to use veto powers to prevent Democrats from making changes. Hello? Do you know what a supermajority in Congress means? It means your veto power means nothing. because Congress has a power to overrule your veto. You have to work with the legislative body. You have to work with them. But identity politics are garbage. And the fact that we're starting this conversation out with this individual suggesting that I'm an ideologue and that because I have a label, I'm wrong with fairy tale ideas. This is the cancer of our society right here. This is what's wrong with our society. This is why we can't solve the problems in our society. This is exactly what's wrong with our society. Let's keep going, because I'm going to actually provide real solutions.
So the idea of what we're going to do is we're going to friendly send in the National Guard to kindly round up the unwanted people on our streets, and then we're going to put them in these awesome, super not re-education detention camps where they're going to get the education that they need and the help that they need, and we're just going to, because listen, man, if people that were in this situation were capable of functioning at that sort of level, now I'm not saying that it's not a noble idea. What I'm saying is that rounding up the people you don't want and putting them into a camp has been tried before, and it didn't work out well.
All right, let's pause here, because this is a horrible, horrible representation of what I stand for. It's completely wrong. First of all, it's very important that you know that I have 3,000 hours in law enforcement experience, which includes working with homeless communities. I also visit homeless communities, and I talk to homeless advocates. How many other gubernatorial candidates are talking to nonprofits like Invisible People or other mental health professionals to understand how we actually solve and prevent homelessness in our state? Nobody is doing it because nobody cares. Folks, I stated that on day one of my administration, I will declare a state of emergency to end homelessness on our streets in California within 60 days, and then we're going to continue to actually solve the causes of homelessness. It is a two-part problem. People stop living on our streets is part one. Part number two is you have to stop the causes of homelessness. It's very simple. 5 weeks after I've started advertising and publishing my idea of declaring a state of emergency, the sheriff of Los Angeles County, which also happens to be conveniently right after I interviewed the sheriff of Los Angeles County Parks and the captain of the LAPD, and I said we need a state of emergency. It is no surprise that 5 weeks after this, the sheriff of Los Angeles County on Twitter says we should declare a state of emergency. It's because my ideas are good, but not only are they good, they are what California needs, because we need to acknowledge the fact that we are in a state of emergency. We can't keep digging our head in the sand because, somebody has big ideas. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow, you have ideas. How about somebody actually gets the cojones to do something? We actually have a governor who gives a crap about implementing policies that work. That's what this election is about. That's why our governor is being recalled, because we have policies that fail us in California. California doesn't realize this as a whole, and it's sad. But proper leadership under someone like me can solve this. Folks, consider this, and then I'm going to tell you my homeless solution, and then we're going to keep going. Consider this, and it's ridiculous. California has illegal pot farms stealing water from fire hydrants. Instead of shutting down those illegal pot farms who are polluting our aquifers and our groundwater, who are stealing our water from our fire hydrants, instead of shutting down those farms, California says, you know what, let's just remove the fire hydrants. Are you kidding me? That is stupid. We need fire hydrants to fight fires. Why, instead of ignoring the problem, the illegal farms, are we removing fire hydrants when we should be removing the problem, not the fire hydrants? That's why California is mismanaged. But California is a beautiful state. California is a great state. It has smart people. It has people who are capable of solving the problems we have in our state. But it's when we get nonsense and a lack of nuance that we continue down the same course of failure. And so, what is my homeless plan properly? Am I trying to create detention camps? No. In fact, here's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to feed every homeless person on our street with 3 meals a day. We're going to provide clean bathrooms and security so people stop getting beaten and people stop dying on our streets. Whole Foods throws away more food than it would take to feed all of our homeless population in California, and that's because they don't want to take the liability of feeding the homeless, which makes sense because California is very litigious. Well, guess who's not afraid of taking liability, folks? Meet Kevin Paffrath. I'll take it. I'll solve the problem because people stop dying when I become the governor. It's ridiculous. So our 30-day plan, day 1 to 30, which keep in mind there's about a 5-week transition before you become the governor. Before that 5-week transition, during that 5-week transition, we can actually work with the National Guard to prepare our plans and have solid plans with our National Guard. Because we're not coming in with tanks. We're coming in with very smart soldiers, veterans, people who know how to deal with emergencies. If they can build wartime facilities in Afghanistan, then we can treat homelessness in California, the capital for homelessness in the country. 90% of homelessness in California comes from within California, not from other states. It comes from California. It's a Californian problem. And when we finally address our issue as an emergency, we can begin to solve things. How about we build 80 emergency facilities where people have the option of going to them? Option. The door is open. You want to sleep, you want to see a doctor, you want to go into mental health triage, or if you can't take care of yourself, we've got substance abuse triage, we've got drug triage, which same thing. We've got mental health triage. We actually have centralized services, which our mental health community says we need to be able to cure homelessness. Then we finally begin to actually solve the causes or the qualms that leave people homeless. Look, 70% of people who go onto our streets don't go onto the streets because they have mental health problems or because they have substance problems. They go onto the streets because of economic problems. But then they fall victim to mental health crises and substance abuse crises. Why? Because when you're homeless on the street, you're in despair. You can't get a clean bathroom. You can't get food. You're in fear for your life. Is that how the 5th largest economy in the world should treat its people? We should be handling this like a state of emergency because our existing governor is not doing anything about it. And so, folks, people ask me, they're like, oh, well, so you gonna round people up? No, we're not. We're going to work by understanding homelessness, which we already know, but we're going to work with our communities because we understand that homelessness is community-based. Homelessness creates block presidents, block mayors, street mayors, mayors of this part of the city or that park over there or whatever. By working with our homeless community leaders, we can find out exactly what their needs are and we can build to those specifications so we can begin to solve our problems working with our nonprofits, working with our activists, working with our agencies, working with our law enforcement, working with our National Guard, and actually having a leader who's going to coordinate everything together. That's how you solve homelessness. People say, oh, but Kevin, you say you're going to have it so that no one's allowed to sleep on the street within 60 days. That's correct. The California courts have found that it is illegal to sleep on our streets. That's all. You don't even need me to say that. It is illegal to sleep on our streets unless there is no alternative option. Well, guess what there is going to be when we have 80 emergency facilities able to house 2,000 individuals each? You have an alternate. That means if somebody's passed out because they're trying to sleep and they were trying to stay up all night because they're not allowed to sleep on the floor on our streets, but then all of a sudden they pass out, well, it sounds like they need medical attention. They're not going away in handcuffs. They're not getting rounded up. They're going to get medical attention and they're going to get dropped off at an emergency facility where they can get evaluated, taken care of, they can rest, they can sleep, they can be fed, they can shower if they want. And if they want to walk out the door at 5 a.m., that's fine. You want to take a bagel and go. I don't care. The door is wide open. Leave. If you are capable of living on your own, go. Use the service and go. That's what my emergency facilities are for. But the rule is nobody sleeps on my streets in California because people aren't sleeping on the streets. They're dying on the streets. More people are dying on the streets to homelessness than they are of gun violence. That is unacceptable for the 5th largest economy in the world. And we're even deemed to be in a gun violence epidemic. It's nuts. It's unacceptable. It is ridiculous. So when someone tries to cut me off or speak over me and suggest that, oh, I have a fairy tale idea and I'm going to round people up, you have got to be kidding me. I'm solving an emergency, and I'm sorry. If you want to see people continue to die on the street, fine. That's something you have to live with. But I believe Californians are good people. I believe Americans are good people. And we don't want to see people dying on our streets, especially not in the 5th largest economy in the world, in California, just losing tourism revenues because of crime, lawlessness, and homelessness. We need a governor who's going to put some pants on and solve the damn problems in our state. Let's keep going.
So is that the only thing you took from his 2-hour sit down here?
No,
like that one thing, or what else?
No, because he also wants to put local governments under occupation as well.
So it was all negative stuff. There was nothing you agreed with. It was all.
Oh my gosh, I'm not putting local governments under occupation. This is ridiculous. Again, this is exactly the kind of garbage. I'm sorry, Gerard. I'm sorry, but this is bullcrap you're spewing here. Patrick Bet-David, this is an embarrassment. Say something. This is bullcrap. That is fake news. That was not what I said. This is a misinterpretation of what I said. I don't even know if Gerard listened to what I said. I said that our state has massive problems with fragmented regulation. Why is it that 80% of the cannabis sold in the state of California is illegal? It's because every state has different rules, different tax regimes, different permits, different wait periods, different bull crap that's required to actually get ahead. Why don't we have one regulation? Why don't we have one regulatory regime that makes it so we can build houses faster? So we can actually solve our housing affordability crisis by providing more supply. It's simple. It's Econ 101. Get the government out of the way and let the free market function. And that does not mean the free market should function unchecked. I'm not saying do away with building and safety departments. I'm just saying if we have 482 building and safety departments in the state, how about we have slightly higher building and safety standards, but we have one standard? Understanding that each city is still going to have a little bit of an overleaf for their own designs. We don't want to take character away. We're not trying to make Santa Barbara look like Palm Springs or vice versa, right? I understand that. But we can streamline so much by having a leader that realizes you can't... Look, listen. Let me just give you a very simple example here. The voters voted to approve cannabis as a legal recreational drug in 2016. Folks, it has been a full 5-year plan, and we still have 90% of the businesses who are legal on provisional licenses because they can't figure it out. They can't get their act together. At the same time, illegal pot farming is booming. It has tripled in just the last year because there's no enforcement. There's lawlessness. It's because the permitting process is a disaster. So one stupid comment like, oh, put California on. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How about some nuance? How about realizing that government is complicated and that government needs real solutions to function appropriately? And then everyone who works for city building and safety departments or permitting offices or offices who are trying to do the right thing for businesses are no longer bound by complexity and red tape. They can do their job and serve the community, which is what should be done. And corruption should be weeded out. And guess what you do? You weed out corruption when you have one standard, not 482 standards that nobody understands. And I'll tell you, nobody is better at making exposed videos than me, Kevin. And I'm going to be making a lot of exposed videos about the bullcrap that stands in the way of solving California's problems. That's what we need. Transparency and solutions. Not stupid one-liners like this. Or cutting people off with one-liners like that.
Ideologue that I don't agree with?
I think that what happens is that, listen, if you're going to sit here and have a conversation with me about...
Why are you guys so friendly today? What is the story like?
What
happened over the weekend?
We'll hug it out after the show.
If you want to have a conversation with me...
Whoa, wait a minute. This is interesting. Patrick Bet-David just said, why are you being so friendly to him? What happened over the weekend? They're talking about them two because I wasn't involved in anything over the last 2 weeks here. So this is actually really interesting because there's clearly some sort of tension between these two folks here. Patrick Bet-David is not enlightening us about that.
The way you think things should be, and you want to be, some sort of a utopian ideologue. That's fine. That's your prerogative as a person. Okay. I wish we can do X. If you're running for governor of the 4th largest economy in the freaking world, and your idea is to send in the
4th largest is Germany. Get your facts right before you start spewing crap.
National Guard and round up the people I don't want on my streets. I'm sorry, but you have to have some pushback. And there should have, frankly, it's not about him. There should have been somebody in his camp that was like, okay, you understand how this is going to sound to anybody that believes in the Cobra paradox at all? Like,
the problem is I don't even know if he has a camp. I think he's like kind of doing it solo.
Oh, we got a camp. We got a staff. We got a staff of folks, and guess what our staff did, folks? You could look this up yourself, okay? Type this in. Meet Kevin, National Guard. We have a video on this that we put out well before this interview. Look at this. Governor to deploy National Guard to end homelessness. You think we just whipped that together without actually talking to people first? Look at this. Next video right here. Exposing the truth why California is broken. Former LA deputy mayor. Former city manager of Santa Monica and Ventura. Come on, folks. Come on, folks. This is ridiculous. We know our plan is bold, but that's why our slogan is out with the old, in with the bold. Stop wasting money, folks. Let's keep going. This is bullcrap so far, but let's keep going.
This is not like a kid you're going to like high five. Like, you're doing great speaking on stage,
It's
buddy.
the freaking governor
It's
of
the
California,
governor of
right?
California,
I think that was the
dog.
problem.
You had strong opinions on him too,
I
did you
definitely
not?
think that was the problem. And most importantly, he's the type that probably has done very well rehearsed. But when he comes
Oh, bull crap. Are you kidding me? Anyone who watches my channel or sees me live at a rally when I respond to questions live, anyone who sees me live on videos knows I don't need to be rehearsed, knows I don't need a script, knows that I will tell it to you if you give me a freaking chance to talk. You cut me off and you try to bulldoze, well, that is on you. That is on you for being ignorant and not capable of listening. Let's keep going.
maybe like a road game, hostile situation, and really wasn't even hostile.
Which I give him credit for.
Right.
In fairness.
But to me,
Which really isn't even hospital. Go watch it.
opportunity, right? And I think he missed it because he did get pushback and kind of deflected a lot and couldn't get to the point.
Hey, look, I will admit, my answers could have been more clear. And that's why I'm providing clarity. That's why I also provided clarity in multiple other videos after this interview. Look up Meet Kevin, quote, I'm pissed, or I'm pissed about California, or I'm still pissed about California, where I provide the exact responses. Censorship, wrong, illegal, not happening. I was censored when I first posted on Instagram the announcement of my campaign, and guess who donated to Gavin Newsom's campaign? Instagram and Facebook. Folks, censorship is bad. Bad. I will give you blunt answers. You ask me blunt answers or questions, I will give you blunt answers. And look, I could have been a lot more blunt on that podcast had I had more of an opportunity to talk and probably the proper amount of sleep. Quite frankly, when I went to this podcast, I was given about a 10-page document of conversations that we were supposed to talk about. Like, oh, these are bullet points we're going to talk about. We literally talked about maybe 1% of that. In fact, if you watch the podcast and there's a point where they're talking about valedictorians or whatever, and you could see somebody had a response to valedictorians. It's because I had a 10-page document going, oh, at one point we're going to talk about valedictorians. But we talked about 2% of that document. Instead, we spend most of the time trying to explain my homelessness plan, but continuing to get cut off by individuals who are trying to paint my plans as something they're not. People who are not trying to listen.
I think one of the things that I've noticed, like here, when we talk about politics or business, is a running mate. Partnerships that he has. This guy has a ton of things going on, in his life, but he didn't once mention like who would help put these people in these places. That requires a lot of funding, a lot of money. He didn't walk us through those things, and that's what I was most concerned with. And then when Pat would ask about that, it was more like, well, I don't have all the answers, but then he had all the answers.
That's not what I said. See, I'm the kind of person who's not gonna stab you in the frickin' back. When you come to me and you ask me a question that I don't know the answer to, I'll tell you I don't know the answer and I'll get back to you with the information, just like I do on my YouTube channel. If somebody says, Kevin, what's the answer to this? I'm not gonna bullcrap you. I will find out the answer and I'll make a video and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. But this is crap. This is crap. If you watch the interview, I never said I had all the answers. Who are you to say I'm coming across as somebody who has all the answers when I literally said I don't have all the answers in the interview? You have got to be kidding me.
The answers, and I don't really, I need the data. So that's where I got kind of confused as to, okay, you're a know-it-all, but you don't know anything.
Here's what
right
I will
now.
tell you about this. Here's what I would tell you about this. Roger Stone, okay? People ask me and say, why do you interview all these random people, like all these mobsters, Roger Stone, former criminals, all these people, right? Because everything's about how did it get you to be thinking the way you think, right? Roger Stone is a pretty weird guy. And when he was talking, he said a few different things. He said, in life, everybody goes through 3 phases. He says, first phase is who is Roger Stone? Like, meaning, who's Roger Stone? Second phase is, get me Roger Stone. Third phase is, I need somebody like Roger Stone. Fourth phase is, who's Roger Stone? Meaning you're forgotten about, right? You start off with, nobody knows who you are, you're irrelevant. Then you go to, dude, this guy's amazing, I want him. Then you go to get me somebody like him that's younger. Then you go to, I've never heard of him before, right? Okay. Right. I don't care what anybody says, agree or disagree with this guy. The level of respect I got for people like Meet Kevin, you go build a 2 million subscriber channel at 28, 29 years old and get that kind of an audience in money, real estate, making $6.2 million in a year at that age, he's absolutely crushing it. This is the biggest thing with a guy like that. I've been running sales teams for a long time. The biggest thing with a guy like that, at that point, sometimes when you win very early, one of the hardest things for you to do is to listen to anybody. It's the hardest thing to do when you win early. When you win later, after you've lost everything, it's one of the best things that'll happen to you.
Are you kidding? Patrick, I appreciate the compliments, but apparently you have not seen my Wikipedia page. We'll go to it really quick. And this Wikipedia page, and I understand it's Wikipedia, but I've made videos about this in the past before, and this hasn't, here, I just pulled it up. You can see here, it hasn't been, it's not like I just edited this in response to this. Here, let me turn it, there we go to that camera. Here, you can see my Wikipedia page here. Last edited 13 days ago. Yeah, there it is. Last edited 13 days ago. So, okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, okay, here, look at this, I think it's under this section. Career. Paffrath earned his real estate license in 2010. Bought a fixer-upper, blah, 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 blah. In 2017, they began to offer construction services through their organization, but ended the venture 18 months later after losing $1 million. This was before YouTube. I lost $1 million on a failed business before I started succeeding on YouTube. In fact, some of the things, in my opinion, that gave me success on YouTube were the ability to say, I have failed. So I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with what you've said about how that's important, but don't suggest that I haven't had my share of failure. It's easy. It's very easy to sit around and go, oh yeah, somebody's got, it's not 2 million. Appreciate the flattery there. But, sure, 1.68 million subscribers. I'm grateful for all my subscribers. And my vision is always to provide value and service to them. But don't tell me I haven't failed.
Typically ends up becoming a better person to be a leader when you lost everything in your 20s. I'm talking girl, money, fame, success, you were the main guy, you got your nose bloody, all of that, 20s and 30s, when it happens. Then you lead in your 40s and 50s. Now you kind of like, remember, listen, everybody gets knocked out. Hey, listen, as bad as you are, everybody go. So I think he hasn't gone through that yet, which is my recommendation to him, was to go get his nose. Do
your facts first, folks. Look at your facts first before you start saying that. I mean, in fairness, Patrick Bet David did say, I think. Okay, I like Patrick. But he's also letting, some comments flow here, not just from him, but from others that are just untrue. Untrue. It's wrong. It's garbage.
And then the other part is, you need a couple guys like them behind closed doors. You need a couple guys like them to talk to behind closed doors. That's going to be like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think that's going to work. Push back.
We do that.
Push back. And then for him to argue with you and say, no, here's why I believe in this. And he's still going to push back. And then he's going to say, you know what? No, I get the point. Kind of like yesterday watching at the house, and you see there's pushback, and then finally he's like, yeah, okay, I agree. That's fine. I totally understand. I think there needs to be a little bit of that. We're going to see what's going to happen.
Again, drawing a conclusion that is not what's happening. Seriously? You go to meetkevin.com and you see my 20-part plan, and you think that just magically appeared? Come on, folks. Look at the 20-part plan. It's very well thought out. No other candidate that I am aware of has a very clear and specific plan with solutions. And that's what California needs.
I hope the guy's got a big upside. He doesn't slow down, and I hope this doesn't discourage him to go run.
Right.
But
doesn't discourage me at all. It encourages me because I know this is what Californians need.
It is what it is.
Maybe let me get your guys' opinion on something, because right after the podcast, who was on? Ricky with you guys?
Yes.
And then you popped in. Oh no, that was the one time.
Zenner was on.
Okay. Anyway,
so
right after the podcast, I interviewed him.
Yeah.
And it was more of a financial type interview. It wasn't that. I even said we're not going to be political. All we talk is money. All we talk is money. And we did the financial interview. But I said, let me ask you something, Kevin. Respect. You came on. You did your thing. Have you ever been a mayor, a representative, a dog catcher? Like, if you've never been in politics ever, what makes you think a lack of experience is a good thing? Meaning, you've done real estate for 10 years. I've never done real estate. I've done finance, but I've never done real estate. That's like me saying, I think I'm going to be a realtor today, and the number one realtor in the entire state. What makes you think that you can just be governor with zero experience? And I think this is what I would call the DJT effect.
DJT effect. Okay, hold on a second here. Let's be very blunt about this, okay? What is the number one issue that California has, followed by the number two issue that California has? Number one, homelessness. Number two, housing unaffordability. Number three, you've also got crime. So actually consider the first three issues here, okay? Oh gosh, wait a minute. Wait, but then there's also education. Okay, top four issues: homelessness, housing, education, and crime. Well, let's break down experience. I have 3,000 hours understanding what it's like to be on the road with law enforcement, domestic violence, police pursuits, traffic stops, understanding the difference between racial profiling, that racial profiling is illegal, but vehicular profiling is not. So is it a surprise that more Hispanics and blacks disproportionately get discriminated against? Folks, I understand how the system works. I don't know everything. I'm not going to pretend I know everything, but I understand a lot more because of the experience that I have. And I surround myself with people. I just interviewed a SWAT officer from a local department here to understand why we have such lawlessness in California. I understand that when I need to get extra clarity, I surround myself with people who have the answers and who can provide that clarity. That's what you need. I'm not coming in here trying to suggest I know everything, because I say many times I don't. But I can do the research and I can connect with the people who do have the answers. And then we put common sense solutions in place. So let's be clear again. Big problem. Homelessness, deal with that with policing. I've also gone into communities and again interviewed activists and surrounded myself with professionals who guide me on how to solve homelessness and how broken homeless issues are today. I have more homeless phone numbers in my contact list on my phone than I do cops. That's a lot. So homelessness, crime, I understand. Housing crisis. Yeah. Real estate investor, real estate broker. That is my background. Providing value into helping people understand how complex housing is, what affects housing prices. An economics degree from, well, actually a political science degree from UCLA. I started in economics, but then graduated with political science. So background in political science and economics from UCLA. Folks, the big problems we have are where I have experience. Housing, homelessness, crime, and teaching. Because what do I do every day? Who can read a Robin Hood S1 and 30 minutes after it comes out, post an unedited one-take video on my distillation of that financial report with that joker that's right here on the screen, right here, this joker. I'm not trying to offend anyone. That joker right here, that's the joker, okay? In the background. Type it in. Meet Kevin Robin Hood. You'll see it. So folks, I know that I have to surround myself with people who have answers, and that's exactly what I do. It's exactly what I do. So to suggest that I don't is wrong. It's fake news. To suggest that I don't have experience relevant to the problems we have in California is also fake news. But let's tell you what experience you don't want in government. 24 years of working beholden to lobbyists like Governor Gavin Newsom has. Folks, I have zero political baggage. The people of California get to decide who leads them. The people decide. Politicians in this election, and this is specific actually, I don't want to go to the specific and then talk about politicians, okay? So let me step back a bit. In this election, folks only get 1 year to prove themselves because there's another election in 2022. Shouldn't every politician have to go through a 1 year free trial? Give me 1 year. Let me prove to you that we can make our solutions work to fix California, because I'm actually here providing solutions. Let's keep going.
Trump is that, look, he became president with zero experience, but the guy's been in the media. The guy's been in ruffling feathers for 40 years.
Yeah, he's been in the political game on the other side.
But my point is this. Trump made it acceptable for anyone to say, all right, fuck it, I'm giving it a shot, whatever it may be. Whereas I think, like Pat said, respect.
I mean, it's honestly totally misleading to suggest that, oh, because of Donald Trump, it's like, oh, well, I want... No, the reason I'm running for governor is because I believe we have solutions that the Californian people want. and nobody else is providing those. And that's giving back. That's what politics should be about. Not about enriching yourself or getting donations from Netflix because you gave them an exemption to stay open as an essential business so they could keep filming videos while at the same time pocketing a $3 million donation from Reed Hastings, the co-CEO of Netflix. Folks, that's what's wrong. That's what happened with Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom pockets $3 million from the co-CEO of Netflix, and surprise, surprise, Netflix is deemed an essential business, while 1/3 of California's businesses go bankrupt. Come on, folks. And for the other, well, the restaurants, 1/3 of California restaurants went bankrupt. But for the other businesses that stayed open, you think they got their LLC fees waived that year? Nope. Even though they had to be shut down. It's unacceptable. Yet, our governor's dining with lobbyists at the French Laundry. No masks during peak COVID. Let's keep going.
To getting out there and think you could do your thing, but if you have zero experience,
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Adam, that's a good point.
It happens more often, buddy. Yeah, let that go through your head a little bit.
Anyway,
Johnny Cash,
but
right
there.
You got to cut that short clip. You got to cut that short clip.
To your
Just cut that up for me,
To
please.
your credit, man, and your point, the whole time he was sitting there, and I actually said it later on in the interview because I didn't want to hammer the guy. But I have been in politics, and I was in on the other side of it.
People don't know you literally wrote speeches for Chris Christie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now they do. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But
Your guy.
but the side I'm trying to say is that the whole time, and I waited 2 hours, and then he finally went on the offensive. And I actually pointed out to him, I was like, "Congratulations, you finally went on the offensive."
Yep.
And I texted Pat afterwards because you were talking about giving, he needs encouragement, and he does have a bright future. And I said, well, if he's going to do this, and he's going to make drastic changes like that, he has to make it about the opponent. So anytime anybody, if you're ever thinking about running for politics, you get this one.
Have you seen my YouTube channel?
Free. This is the Valuetainment, all right? All he had to do at any moment, and he still didn't do it in the video that he did in response, he had to admit that what he was saying was outrageous. But these are outrageous times.
There you go.
That's all he had to do.
Oh my gosh, come on. What's the difference? Okay. All right, fine. Okay. I mean, look, my ideas are emergency ideas. A state of emergency on homelessness, education, traffic, and housing. They are bold ideas. That's our slogan. That's our slogan. Out with the old, in with the bold. Whatever. At this point, whatever. We'll finish this.
To say, listen, I don't want to put California under occupation, but it's a state of emergency.
Nobody's putting California on this is the stuff that's mind-blowing. I'm having trouble even finishing this response video because that is such a loaded statement. Gerard, folks here, take a class on logic, speech, and debate. And the first thing they teach you about are these things called logical fallacies. A loaded statement is one in which you impute false information within a question or statement to mischaracterize your opponent. It's another style or version of poisoning the well. It's bullcrap. And critical thinking identifies that kind of bullcrap. Nobody said that. Unbelievable.
Gavin Newsom screwed up so bad for so long that we have to treat this as the emergency that it is.
That's literally what my plan is. And I deal with policies. I don't want to just sit here and rant about the existing governor. We know what problems there are in California. Californians don't need to be educated on, wow, we have a housing crisis, we have a housing affordability issue, we have a homeless crisis, we have a schooling issue, we're ranked 40th in the country, bottom 20% for the 5th largest economy in the world. Are you kidding? Californians know we have problems. We need bold solutions. We got to talk solutions, and that's what I do. Invite me back and give me a chance to provide my bold solutions, and then we'll have solutions. Then we can actually have a real dialogue. But statements like this are nonsense. Nobody used the word occupation except you. Nobody even remotely suggested that. It's ridiculous.
Get off of him, put it on Gavin Newsom. Treat it as something that's temporary in a response to bad administration.
It's not a temporary solution. Homelessness is not going to be here today, gone tomorrow. We're going to stop people from living on our streets within 60 days, but our emergency facilities will exist as an emergency facility for a social safety net, and we're going to hope to reduce the population that is reliant upon our emergency facilities. But we realize that mental health takes years to solve. We have a mental health crisis in the state. We don't get educated on mental health in middle school or high school. That's going to be one of the first things I change too. We have physical education, PE. Do we have ME? Mental education? Of course not. Nobody's even heard of that. The problems that we have in the state are so interwoven that you have to solve all of the issues together, not just one of the issues. And you certainly can't mischaracterize the solutions I provide.
He has to come in and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
I do want to solve the problems. Again, mischaracterizing. And I know he's doing a hypothetical here. But I do want to help people who don't have food. I do want to help people who are starving.
You have libertarians like me, Republicans like other people saying this is an overreach of government, but at least it's temporary and at least he knows that it's bad.
Okay, so look, you can come from a libertarian point of view and that's fine, because in my rallies I actually regularly say we need to get the government out of our lives, and that is not in a way to say that we need no government. But we need the government to stop trying to tell us what to do. Listen to some of these ironies, okay? People say, oh, we shouldn't have legalized gambling in California, which I plan to legalize gambling because, oh my gosh, that might lead to gambling addictions. How about you get the government out of our lives, stop telling us what the heck to do or think or what we can or can't do, and if somebody has a gambling addiction, you treat the gambling addiction. You treat the mental health problem that underlays the gambling addiction. You don't. Or you provide the proper education to give folks the career opportunity through a proposal that I have, like future schools, where you actually teach and invest in Californians so you could save money in California and you actually prevent these potential mental health issues in the first place. That's how you get ahead. Let's keep going.
Now, it could be BS. Everything that the government does that's temporary, the federal income tax was temporary measure.
Oh, and let me keep going. Again, emergency facilities, I already said not temporary, but I do want to also say, I'm also a big fan of reducing the amount of government that we have in things like housing. Remember, government comes in, it tends to make housing more complicated and worse. They did the same thing with cannabis. They do the same thing with mental health right now. They do the same thing with energy. Why is gas so expensive in California? It's because of the government. Why do we have blackouts? It's because of the government. I realize that. And so I'm looking for common sense solutions. I do also, though, understand that there are times government is very important. Otherwise, we'd have anarchy. Let's keep going.
100 years later, we're still here, right? So we all know that in the back of our head, and that's why we give pushback. We know that you're taking this power and you're never giving it back. Now, the other side, who wants to hear the utopian butterflies and hell yeah, we're gonna heal all the homeless. They've been trying to do it for 10,000 years.
Utopian butterflies, you've never had a coordinated effect from the governor. Ever. Oh man, this is frustrating.
Got this plan, and this plan is we're gonna round them up and throw them somewhere else where you don't see them. Dude.
Are you kidding me? Again, mischaracterizing. Why am I finishing this?
Now, the wild thing, the craziest part about this was Rudy Giuliani in the sit down that you had with him literally said, the first thing you have to do is clean up the streets. You have to get rid of the homeless. It's the very first thing Rudy said. He said you can lower, in the interview with you, he said you can lower murders by 90%, but nobody ever sees a murder. So they won't believe crime is going down unless you get rid of the graffiti and you clean up the homeless. He said, until I got rid of the squeegee guys, nobody believed New York had a turnaround, right? So in that time, his methodology isn't necessarily wrong. His messaging really, really is. And that's where
that's great feedback for him. That's great feedback. And by the way, knowing him, he's probably listening. Someone's going to tell him about this. He's going to listen to this.
Oh, they told us.
And hopefully he'll take that feedback. So if you enjoyed this little...
All right, listen. Our messaging in their podcast, my messaging, it's not as good as it could have been. But I will always make my position clear. Know that about me. Thanks for watching. I've got a rally to go to now.